It is a breezy day. Here in England, everything is rather windy. We've had some rain, we had some sunshine. The only thing we haven't had is snow, fortunately. We've had no snow today. Here we go again. Yes, it is English Addict back with you live on YouTube, coming to you live, of course, from the birthplace of the English language, which just happens to be, oh my goodness, it is England. Okay, I will turn my echo off. Sorry about that. Hi everybody, this is Mr. Duncan in England. Ooh. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you feeling good today? The weekend is here. I hope you are having a good one wherever you are watching in the world. Did anyone see Eurovision last night? Ukraine came first. In second place, us, the United Kingdom. Isn't that nice? I must be honest with you, I don't normally watch the Eurovision Song Contest. I don't have any strong feelings towards it, positively or negatively, but I have to say, a lot of people got really excited. In fact, I think Ukraine got the highest score ever in Eurovision. Is that right? I think I heard someone say that. Anyway, here we go. I will try my best not to do too much singing today. I don't want to spoil your Sunday. I don't want to ruin your weekend. So here we are again. Yes, we are back, and my name is Duncan. That's what it says down there on the screen. Can you see it? And I talk about the English language. You might say that I am an English addict. I am crazy about the English language. Some people, of course, say I am just crazy. Thank you very much for joining me today. Yes, we have made it all the way to the end of another weekend, and it's been a fun one. I hope you've had a good one so far. Yes, it's Sunday. Here we are again. Sunday has arrived once more. I hope you are having a good Sunday. Of course, a lot of people see or they feel that Sunday is a day of rest and relaxation. Not for me. I have no rest, no relaxation on Sunday. I have to get up very early and start preparing my live stream, and here I am right now just for you. Ooh. Today we are taking a look in the garden. If you were watching me last Wednesday, I did mention something that we've been doing in the garden. We've had some big changes. Not everywhere. We had one of our lovely friends come, and he often comes to take care of the garden. He will trim the bushes, and sometimes he will cut back the trees so they don't get too big. However, last week we did something rather brutal. I like that word, brutal. So as you may know, we've had some difficulties in the garden with one or two trees. They've decided to die. We don't know why they decided to die, but it did make me cry, and then I felt like I wanted to eat a big piece of pie, and some of it got in my eye. But yes, last week we cut down some trees. We had to. So please don't complain. I will say this now before anyone complains. We did cut some trees down in the garden, but they were dead. So I think it's okay. I think it is all right to cut down your trees if they are dead. So here we go. Here is a little peep into the garden. I took this yesterday because we had beautiful weather yesterday. I don't know what happened to the weather over the past 12 hours, but today the weather is a bit stinky. It's not very nice. It's cold. It's windy. It's wet. Well, when I say cold, I mean it's around about 19 Celsius, which for some people might be very comfortable indeed. Here it is then, a view of the garden. So first of all, you can see everything is looking rather nice, but then as the camera slowly moves, you will see that something is missing. Something has vanished. So far, it looks lovely, but then suddenly something does not look right. Oh, Mr. Duncan, what is going on? What has happened to your garden? You seem to be missing some trees. Where have your trees gone, Mr. Duncan? Well, sadly those trees had died and they were starting to look rather unpleasant, to say the least. So we had to, unfortunately, chop them down. We had to cut the trees down. And, well, there you can see all that is left of the trees are just a few pieces of wood. But of course, that wood will not go to waste because we are going to use that wood to keep us warm when winter comes at the end of the year. So it won't go to waste, but sadly we did have to chop the trees down because they were all dead and they were starting to fall to pieces. But the good news is we are going to put something there in place. So there will be something there that eventually will replace the trees. Sadly, they died. I can't do anything about it. Unfortunately, not even the most skilled tree surgeon in the world could bring those trees back to life. There was absolutely nothing they could do. They were 100% absolutely dead as a doornail. Isn't it interesting? A person who takes care of trees or tries to care for them or make them healthy is called a tree surgeon. Isn't that weird? Don't you think that's strange? That we call a person who tries to save the life of a tree, we call them tree surgeons. Interesting that. It brings a very strange image into my mind of an operating theatre and a large tree lying on the table as lots of people try to keep it alive. Maybe there is a large drip at the side introducing sap into the tree instead of blood. Okay, well now you know what is coming up today. We are talking about trees. We are also talking about making plans. Are you a person who is good at making plans? I will say now, I am not good at making plans. I am not. Mr. Steve is very good at making plans. I have a feeling that Steve might be too good. Sometimes he gets rather obsessed with making plans for the future. Sometimes Steve makes decisions and then he changes his mind. So even though he makes plans, quite often he will change those plans for something else. So what about you? We are talking about that. Also, we are talking about words and phrases connected to pictures, paintings, anything that can be imagined or created is what we call a picture. You can picture something in your mind. You can paint a picture. You may have seen this week a very expensive painting was sold in an auction. Did you see that? The famous Andy Warhol painting was sold for $195 million. Can you believe that? Is any painting worth that much money, really? Do you think it's a bit silly sometimes? Do you think sometimes people become too obsessed with owning a unique thing, maybe a piece of art, and they will pay anything? So I think sometimes the art world is a little crazy, and maybe the people who buy these pieces of art for very large amounts of money, that's where we are talking lots of money. $195 million was paid for one painting by Andy Warhol. Not a lot of people like his work. Some people criticise it as being, well, not proper art. However, other people see him as a little bit avant-garde. Oh, Mr. Duncan, very nice. What a lovely fancy pants word that is. Well, I try my best. Hello to everybody. Oh, hello live chat. Hello. How are you doing today? I hope you are having a good weekend so far. I'm not too bad. I can't complain. Although I went to the dentist on Friday. Let's just say it did not go well. That's all I'm saying for now. I might explain more of it later on, but let's just say we did not have a good time at the dentist. And I think the reason was because last Friday was Friday the 13th. I should have known, because a lot of people believe that Friday the 13th is an unlucky day. They think bad luck will always occur on Friday the 13th. So we will see what happens. So hello to the live chat. Nice to see you here. And who was first? Oh, hello, Beatrice. Beatrice, you were first on today's live chat. I suppose I should say congratulations to you. Did you see that? I was covering up my face because I was coughing. I don't know why. My throat is a little bit tickly. And you know, if you are a person who has been watching me for a long time, you will know that at this time of year, I normally start to get my seasonal allergies. So hay fever. The hay fever season has arrived, and I think over the next few days I am going to suffer a little bit, just slightly, from the dreaded hay fever. I think so. Anyway, congratulations to Beatrice. You are first. Also, we have Vitas as well. I believe you are in second place. But at the top of the tree, it is Beatrice. Congratulations to you. We have a new feature today, by the way. I might hold it back for a few more moments. But yes, we have a new feature concerning one of our viewers, who I hope is here. If not, then the feature will not be very good. That's all I can say. Can I also say hello to some of the other live chatters today? Hello, Gulu. Hello, also Sandra. Hello to Luis Mendez is here today. Nice to see you back as well. We also have Zuzika, Alexander. We also have Palmyra. Hello, Palmyra. Nice to see you back as well. And Marcia is here. Oh, yes. We have Claudia. Claudia is here today. We have a new feature concerning our lovely lovely dentist, Claudia, coming up in a few moments. Did you see the match yesterday? Did you see the football match yesterday? It was the cup final yesterday. I think one of the teams was Chelsea. Am I right? As you can see, I don't follow football very much, but whichever team won yesterday, congratulations to you. I hope you enjoyed that, and well done. I think, who was it? Who won yesterday? Who won the match? I don't know. I have no idea. I know Chelsea were playing, and apparently also Liverpool were playing yesterday, but there was a moment when things went a little bit wrong. I don't know if you saw this on the news or read this anywhere, but apparently when the national anthem, the national song of this country, was playing, apparently a lot of people got rather upset and they started to boo. And apparently Prince William was so upset he cried. He did. Well, they say he did. I'm not sure if he did cry. I personally don't think he did. I'm sure Prince William has lots of other things to worry about and be concerned about, so I don't think he did. But apparently there are a lot of people who were not happy with the national anthem being played yesterday at the football match, but I don't know. I think our national anthem is rather lovely, although it is a little bit old-fashioned. Maybe some people might say that it is a little dated. If something is dated, it is something that is out of fashion. Maybe it is something that is no longer fashionable. Can I say happy birthday? Apparently, it is Marcia's birthday today. Oh, happy birthday to Marcia. I hear it's your birthday today. Happy birthday to Marcia. And I hope you have a very happy day. Congratulations, another year older. How old are you? Don't tell me. Don't tell me. A lady is not supposed to tell you how old she is. Never ask a lady to give you her age. You must never do it. So people were booing. Boo, boo, boo. When people want to show their disapproval of something, they will boo. B-O-O. And the sound is normally done by many people. So maybe if you are at a large gathering and everyone is upset, or maybe they dislike something, they will all start showing their disapproval by booing. And the sound, well, we just had it, didn't we? We'll have it again. So this is the sound of people getting upset. And it's also the sound that I hear at the start of my live stream every Sunday. A lot of people getting upset, you see, because I'm back here on YouTube, is what I'm saying there. Anyway, I hope you are having a good day. It's lovely here. It's nice to see you. We have a new feature, by the way. And Claudia, I have a question for you. So Claudia, if you are watching now, I have a question that I would like to put to you in the form of a song. What's cooking, Claudia? What have you got in the pot? What's cooking, Claudia? Is it something spicy and hot? Is it something salty or not? Oh, Claudia, what is in the pot? Claudia, what is in the pot? What are you cooking today? As you know, I love food very much, and Mr. Steve also is a big fan of food. So Claudia, what are you cooking? What is in the pot today? Claudia, please let us know. We are just a few moments away from Mr. Steve. He will be here as well. And of course, he will be doing what he always does. He will be giving us lots of pleasure with his entertaining ways and his fun and vibrant character. Mr. Steve has been keeping himself well and healthy all this week. We've been out walking. In fact, yesterday we went for a walk and we noticed that many of the fields near to where we live, many of the fields now have lots of crop. And we saw one particular field full of lots of crop that was growing, green and very healthy looking, in fact. Would you like to see it? Okay, here it is now. Oh, there it is. Now, I think this is barley, because you can always tell the difference between wheat and barley. So I think this is actually barley that is growing in this particular field. Isn't that lovely? So this is what we saw yesterday whilst walking, one of the many fields in this area, and yes, I think I can safely say that this is barley growing in the field. Quite often barley is used in food products, but also quite often used in the manufacture of beer as well. So many different types of alcoholic drink also uses this particular type of grain. So this is barley growing in one of the fields near my house, and I have to say, now many of the fields around here quite often have rapeseed or wheat growing. So I was surprised yesterday to find that there was actually barley growing in this field. Used for many things, but maybe a lot of people feel that barley is a little bit old-fashioned, especially with modern farming techniques. So a lot of biofuels are now grown with certain types of oil that is taken away from certain plants. As I just mentioned, we have rapeseed, which uses that particular type of technique. It is grown all over the place in many fields in this area, and you will find it all over the place. You will. Mr. Steve is coming in a few moments. We are going to take a short break. We are talking today about making plans. Are you good at making plans? I think Mr. Steve is very good at making plans. However, unfortunately, I am not very good at it. So Steve coming in a few moments, and yes, of course, he will be with us having a lot of fun. So don't go away. Please stay with me. There it was, as a way of showing just how the weather today is rather changeable. And there it is outside at the moment. Oh, look! Can you see the laburnum is now coming out? You can really feel that summer is on the way. And the reason why I know summer is coming is because the laburnum tree is now out. We will be taking a look at some other parts of the garden in a few moments, but now we have something more important, something that is top of the list of my things that I have to do. It's time to introduce Mr. Steve. Yes, he's on his way.
Hello, bonjour, hello everybody, hello Mr. Duncan.
Mr. Steve is here, everyone.
I am, and I'm excited to be here today, Mr. Duncan. I'm full of energy. I've been out in the garden, I've done this, that and the other. I've even looked and prepared for this live show.
Yes.
Before coming on. Usually I'm scrabbling around because I'm out in the garden. I have to rush in, get changed, and then sort of organise myself in a few short minutes. But today I was upstairs, just chilling. 15 minutes. I thought I'll look at Mr. Duncan's live stream and see what people are talking about.
Great. This is all useful information.
By the way, I heard you mentioning about the booing.
Yes.
Of the Liverpool fans.
Yes.
And
well, I don't think they were booing the Liverpool fans, were they?
No, the Liverpool fans were booing the national anthem.
I don't know why, though.
Well, I looked it up.
Yes. Well, wait there a second, Steve. We've got plenty of time.
I looked it up, but of course if I say that, people will have looked it up and will know, so there'll be no point in me saying.
So a lot of people yesterday were booing, and this is the sound they were making.
It's a sound, of course, that you're very used to getting every time you do a live stream, Mr. Duncan.
I said that earlier.
Oh, right.
At the start of my live streams, I always get lots of people making that noise because they're displeased.
Well, apparently, I looked this up. Apparently, it's a bit of a tradition for Liverpool fans to boo the national anthem. It's been going on since the 1980s.
Okay, then.
Because of Conservative government led by Margaret Thatcher. There was a lot of decline, a lot of unemployment in the area, and Scousers, as Liverpudlians like to call themselves,
okay.
Scousers.
So Scousers is a nickname, so that's not formal. We don't normally use Scouser in a formal sense, but yes, it is a nickname for people who are born in Liverpool.
From Liverpool. They call themselves Scousers. It's not a derogatory term at all. And during the 1980s, there was a lot of unemployment. Industry was going downhill. Lots of people losing their jobs, lots of poverty. And people in Liverpool at the time felt a lot of opposition towards the then Conservative government and successive Conservative governments who they feel. And strangely enough, it turned out, so this is sort of opposition to the establishment. So it's something that Liverpool fans do a lot because they don't see themselves, a lot of the Liverpudlians like to see themselves as Scousers, not English, because they feel as though they've been let down by governments in the past. And of course, it turned out that they were right, Mr. Duncan, because papers that were released years after Margaret Thatcher's government showed quite clearly that they were deliberately not bothering to do anything for people in Liverpool. So they were right, and of course that kind of resentment is still there today.
It is interesting when you look back over history, certain political figures. I think one of the most divisive political figures in this country has to be Margaret Thatcher. You either love Maggie or you hate Maggie. I am not a fan, I will be honest, for various reasons. But it's interesting that Margaret Thatcher did do some good things, but also she did some terrible things as well that put the country back. But she did, strangely enough, she did help to bring the Soviet Union into the Western dialogue with a bit of help, of course, from Ronald Reagan. And we were watching a very interesting documentary last night about that very subject. So it's interesting that you should mention Mrs. Thatcher, because we saw this thing last night. And it's interesting how she was able to bring the Soviet Union into the pact or the group of nations. Of course, shortly after that, of course, it all fell. It all fell down. It all collapsed. The Soviet Union, everything changed. And then suddenly we had Mikhail Gorbachev, who looked like a completely different person. He was nothing like the old-fashioned way of looking at Russia and its leaders. So he was a breath of fresh air. However, some people might say that things have changed slightly over the years. Maybe they've gone backwards a little bit for various reasons.
Yes, so that's the reason. They call Liverpool fans Reds.
Oh.
They call them the Reds, apparently. course, we know nothing about football. I've looked this all up.
Is that the reason why they wear red?
I think it probably is. Yes, I would imagine so. But yes, they don't like Conservative governments, and I don't blame them, because they obviously clearly were let down, as were many industries in the 1980s, the miners in particular. And there's a lot of resentment that still stands to this day, which is against Conservative governments and by association, royalty, and anything to do with the English.
Yes.
So, we can understand why. So that's the background.
It is interesting in this country. We do appear to have not a real divide, but a divide that people see as being something connected to attitude, with the north of the country and the south of the country. And by that, I don't want to sound too judgmental, but the rich and the poor, I suppose.
Of course, Belarusia points out that it's not just Liverpool people that don't like Margaret Thatcher. Of course, it's Argentinians as well.
Okay,
we know the background
Okay.
behind that. I'm not going into it. Don't worry, Mr. Duncan. He's trying to stop me, trying to censor me already. I'm just repeating what Claudia
said.
So
thank you, Claudia. And by the way, we have a new feature. I haven't seen what Claudia is making today.
Well, I have, yes. She did say.
But we have a new feature today called What's Cooking Claudia?
What's cooking, Claudia? What have you got in the pot? What's cooking, Claudia? Is it something spicy and hot? Is it something salty or not? Oh, Claudia, what is in the pot?
Claudia, what's cooking today?
She did say. She has said. So a Paraguayan dish similar to steamed scones and cheese. I will cook chipper afterwards. So, yes, that must be for the... Oh, there we go. It's a tart.
Ooh.
A tartar in the oven stuffed with ham, cheese, eggs and fresh tomatoes. Oh, I'm salivating.
So now we know what is cooking in Claudia's pot, or should I say in Claudia's oven. It sounds very nice, and I hope you will save some for us later on.
All those lovely dishes, such a wide variety of dishes that Claudia cooks every week and tells us all about it and makes us feel very hungry. I have prepared a meal for us later, Mr. Duncan.
What is it?
It's chili beef, and I've put it in the slow cooker, which is our new best friend in the kitchen.
It's something that Mr. Steve's mother gave to us about 3 years ago. We've hardly used it, but now we are using it all the time. So later on we are going to have a slow-cooked chili con carne.
And earlier in the week, on Thursday, I used the slow cooker again to cook lentil dal. Lentil dal, which is sort of mildly spiced. I used red lentils, onions and various spices and things. And we had that with rice and sweet potatoes. So, and that was delicious.
It was nice. It certainly made me go to the toilet.
Certainly, acted as a lovely sort of, let's say, cleanser.
It makes a very good laxative if you are having trouble pooping.
And I didn't put very much spice in it. It was just a couple of teaspoons of curry powder. But I love lentil dal. It's one of my favourite dishes. And when we used to go on holiday to Malaysia a lot, you used to be able to have it for breakfast in hotels. They always had lentil dal with bread. Naan bread or something for breakfast. Which
it's very strange, though, having curry for breakfast.
I know, it was very strange to us, but perfect for me because I love spicy food.
Mr. Steve.
I love spicy people.
Okay. Mr. Steve, we've had some changes in the garden.
We have, yes, we have.
Some big news. I showed this earlier. I'm going to show it again. So this is what is happening at the moment outside. So I filmed this yesterday, but you will get an idea, you will get a clue as to what is happening outside. So there is the garden. It looks lovely at the moment, but as we move the camera across, you will see that there are some big changes.
Have you got a before and after?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you look closely, you will see that, well, a lot of the trees that used to be there are no longer there. They've gone. And the reason is because they were all dead.
They all died. They were conifer bushes, Leylandii, and they gave up the ghost, as you say. If you say you've given up the ghost, it means you've died. And presumably your ghost comes out of you.
Okay.
Well, it's been like that for about a year, but I finally had somebody round, a tree surgeon, as I heard you pointing out.
I don't think this guy is a surgeon. I think he's a tree murderer.
Well, yes, I suspect that he killed them in the first place by over pruning them.
Okay.
Yes, anyway, we've got a lot of logs that we can burn this winter, although they were very expensive logs because he's put his prices up.
Okay.
I was quite shocked at the price he charged me for that job, Mr. Duncan.
Okay.
I'd have been better off just sort of setting fire to them and buying logs off our usual supplier.
Okay, that's a very
Anyway,
strange thing to say.
I've got to get my axe out. I've got to get my chopper out, Mr. Duncan.
Mr. Steve will be swinging his chopper.
I'll be swinging my chopper all summer and hopefully not putting my shoulder out like I did last year by
please.
overdoing it.
Don't injure
Because,
yourself.
Those logs need chopping into smaller pieces, those sort of trunks. Luckily, he's cut them into smaller bits for me because I don't have a chainsaw.
No, fortunately, we can't allow Mr. Steve to have a chainsaw because no one trusts him. Because I'm pretty sure if Mr. Steve ever tried to use a chainsaw, I think there would be a big injury. I think the lawn, the grass in the middle of the garden will be coloured red.
I didn't do that. I think a few people seem to think that I did that. I didn't, because I got a professional in to take those trees down. Imagine sort of 8 foot tall conifer hedge.
Or anything.
And that's what it was, and it had died.
Yes.
So those are the trunks that the man, the gardener, the man that came round, the tree surgeon.
Let's call him Rob.
Let's call him Rob.
Because
That is his name.
after seeing the price of his service, we did feel as if we were robbed a little bit.
Yes, if you're watching. But yes, so well, what are we going to put in its place? Well, I'm thinking of Portuguese laurel.
We don't know.
But I'm thinking seriously about Portuguese laurel, if anyone knows about gardening. I'm not going to put Leylandii there because they're too vigorous.
Okay, Steve.
So, yes, Portuguese laurel. I think it looks very picturesque. That's what has been recommended to me.
Moving on.
And it sounds very posh. If you tell your neighbours, oh, I've got Portuguese laurel, sounds very posh.
Is it?
Yes, because somebody said it. We walked down the road a few years ago, and I said to somebody, "Oh, they're nice bushes. What are those?" And very snootily, he said to me, "Portuguese laurel, not just ordinary common or garden laurel that we have. It's Portuguese laurel." So that puts you, on another level with the neighbours. Oh,
Good.
not just ordinary common laurel.
Okay.
It's probably very common in Portugal.
I can almost hear real booing taking place. I don't know why. Mr. Duncan, please get on with it. We had the cows yesterday at the back of the house. Would you like to see the cows? Would you like to see them?
Would you like to see the cow? Yes.
Would you like to see the cows and the bulls and Mr. Steve making a fuss of them? first thing I noticed there, Steve, is all the flies. There is. I'm sorry if you are eating something at the moment, but we were surrounded by flies. You might say that at this time of year, we would describe this as fly season, and because there are lots of cattle in the field, they are also covered in flies.
Well, I put up a fly trap in the garden. Gives off a smell. They go in and they drown.
That's nice.
And it will catch 10,000 flies, apparently. Because once those flies start breeding in the cow dung, they will multiply many, many times.
Yes. Once again, apologies if you are eating.
So, yes, we try to keep the numbers of flies down by putting a fly trap in the garden.
But it is very hard when you live in the countryside and you are surrounded by cattle because the flies do like the cattle. They like buzzing around them.
Beatrice says the cows are definitely your friend. Well, Beatrice, I can tell you of a rather frightening story. A few days before. On Thursday, they chased me in the field, and I felt quite threatened. They haven't been here very long, so they haven't got used to us. But I came down from the field. Went for a walk, and they approached me and got quite aggressive.
Yeah.
They were one was rearing up behind me, and it didn't have a nice expression on it. I felt quite threatened. Mr. Duncan,
you were making the cows angry.
I was trembling. So Mr. Duncan doesn't realise just I was literally running in and out of the trees, and it was following me and chasing me. It was quite frightening.
Yes, it sounds horrific.
Anyway, I lived to tell the tale.
Did you know on Friday, it was Friday the 13th, and I went to the dentist on Friday, and I had the most horrific, because you were talking about bad things, I had a horrible experience at the dentist. The dentist caused me a lot of pain, so much pain, I had to scream and tell her to stop. I had to say, please, just stop. Because she was using, instead of scraping the old-fashioned way, that they often use metal hooks and they scrape your teeth. I prefer that. But instead she decided to use the ultrasonic scaler. So it takes all of the horrible stuff off your teeth. But it was so painful. It was agony. I don't know what happened, but she was causing so much pain. I had to tell her to stop. I said, please, no, don't do that anymore. Please stop. Use the old scraper instead. So she got the old hooks and the metal prods, and it looks like something from medieval times when they used to torture people. But I prefer that. It was much less painful. So I didn't have a very good time at the dentist.
I don't like the ultrasonic. I'm going on Monday to my dentist.
How strange. And your mum went?
My mother went on Friday.
Yes.
You went on Friday, and I'm going on Monday.
Everyone is going to the dentist.
In fact, a strange coincidence. Your dentist phoned you. I mean, we don't go to the same dentist.
No.
I go to one in a different town because the thing with dentists is, probably a lot of you watching, once you've gone to a dentist and you like them, quite often, even if you move quite a long distance away, you stay with this dentist. So we've moved away from Wolverhampton, but I still have the same dentist I have done for the last 30 odd years. And I've forgotten what I was going to say, Mr. Duncan.
We were talking about going to the dentist. And
oh, yes.
We received the phone call at the same time.
Yes.
From both of our dentists.
Yours in Much Wenlock and mine in Wolverhampton, just confirming the appointment.
Yes.
So, yes, and my mother went on Friday. It was a bit of a coincidence. But no, the ultrasonic, I don't like that ultrasonic cleaner because you just wait, you know where your sensitive teeth are.
Yeah.
And it makes that horrible high-pitched whining noise. And you're just waiting for it to hit those sensitive spots.
Oh, I hate it. So I didn't have a very good time at the dentist on Friday. It was very painful.
Does Claudia use the ultrasonic descaling equipment, or do you use the sort of scraping hooks or whatever it is?
Yeah,
I bet Claudia's never had anybody literally screaming and telling them to stop.
I had to tell her. I said, please stop. Please. Please, you're hurting me so much. Between you and me, I think she was enjoying it.
I think some of them do. Michael, who was on earlier, I don't know if Michael's still here, I hope you are, says that he loves the dentist. And it's an opportunity to sleep and dream.
Oh, I suppose so. Well, maybe they give you the laughing gas, is it chloroform?
I'm not sure what they give you.
They give you laughing gas, and
nitrous oxide, I think.
Oh, that's right. And I don't think they use it anymore. So they often just put a needle into your gums.
Christina said that she had gingivitis.
Oh.
Isn't that something you had?
Well, I suffered for a while from it, but I'm on top of it now. But yes, you can get certain infections or certain illnesses or diseases. I suppose that's a better way of describing it. Gingivitis. It is basically gum disease. Your gums are going rotten. And then because of that, your teeth fall out.
It's not an infection of ginger people.
No, it has nothing to do with people that have red hair.
No, nothing at all.
Mr. Steve, we are talking about a couple of subjects today. We are talking about words and phrases connected to pictures, because last week, one of the most valuable paintings in the world, a print by Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol was a famous artist, no longer around, but his special picture that he did a few actually of Marilyn, but this is one of his most famous ones. And it sold for $195 million. So nearly $200 million for one painting. So today we are looking at that. We are looking at words and phrases connected to paintings and pictures, all of those things. So not necessarily to do with art, but to do with the words. The words.
And making plans as well, I noticed.
We are, yes. Well, it's funny. It's funny. You should say that. Mr. Steve, we talked about this briefly earlier. I did mention it. Talking about making plans. Do you like making plans? Some people are very good at it. You, for example.
Yes, I like to make plans. And in fact, Christina, who's been very active on the live chat today, hello, Christina, says that, and she does something that I like to do, which is to write down your plans, because anything that she wants to do, she writes it down. And I do that almost on a daily basis. Because I find that if I write it down, so you might have a lot of things in your head that you want to do. You might want to clean the bathroom. You might want to do some gardening. You might want to phone a particular friend. But sometimes the day goes on and you get distracted with other things. Social media, not me because I don't do social media, but television. And then you forget that. And then the day comes to an end and you haven't achieved the things that you wanted to do. But if you write them down, then I find I'm much more likely to do them, because I like going to that list and crossing it off as I do it. And it's just little things. Could be, phone a particular friend. And if I write it down, then I'll do it. And Christina does that. It's a very good way of achieving things, and it's very satisfying to cross them off the list during the day. Rosa, on the other hand, doesn't make any plans at all.
Oh.
But then we're all different.
Well, I'm a bit like that.
Well,
I don't write things down. Sometimes if I have ideas, for example, the song that I wrote about Claudia and her meal, can I tell you a story about that? I had that song in a dream the other night. And I got out of bed and I came down into the studio here and I wrote the song down. So it popped in my head whilst I was asleep. So I came down here and wrote the song about Claudia and her pot. What is cooking in the pot?
And as Claudia points out as well, there are products you can get for sensitive teeth. So Claudia is suggesting that if your teeth were normal and not super sensitive, then you probably wouldn't have felt that pain. So maybe some of that sort of Sensodyne toothpaste.
Yes, there are lots of things you can get.
Yes, there are lots of drugs you can take as well. I usually take a couple of paracetamol before I go to the dentist because that just numbs things a bit.
Yes.
I might up it to opium for this Monday.
Or morphine.
Bit of morphine, yes, or a couple of glasses of whiskey.
Well, I suppose that's where being put under anaesthetic is a good thing, because they put you under the anaesthetic, you go to sleep, and then you know nothing about it. And when you wake up, all of the horribleness has finished. Although, to be honest, I don't like anaesthetic either. I always feel a little nervous because of what happened to Joan Rivers. Joan Rivers, she went just to have some exploratory investigations. She had a camera put down her throat, and then she choked and she died. So I don't think I'm going to be doing that in a hurry.
Not unless you have to.
So Mr. Steve is good at making plans, but I think sometimes Steve is too obsessed with it. I think you can be too obsessed with making plans, or maybe you try to make too many plans. You try to fit too much into your day or into your week.
I like a bit of pressure. A bit of pressure, it helps me achieve things. I feel as though I'm more efficient when I'm under a little bit of pressure, time pressure. I feel as though I work more efficiently that way, because if you got to do something by a certain time, as long as you don't put too much time pressure, then I think it helps you to be more efficient.
Yes.
But you should take breaks between things.
Yes. Alessandra says, do you know that Coca-Cola was invented by a dentist? Well, I know that Coca-Cola used to contain cocaine. It was a little bit more addictive. But some people might say that Coca-Cola these days is very addictive because of all the sugar that's contained in it. But yeah, originally Coca-Cola had cocaine in it. So maybe that's the reason why a dentist invented it. Imagine that. If you went to the shops and brought a large bottle of Coca-Cola and then got high. Although you can, I suppose, on sugar. Some people get high on sugar.
Cool.
Me, for example. I love sugar. So I think it is fair to say that some people like making plans, some people are very good at making plans, and some people are not as good. Some words that I can show you now, if I can squeeze those on. People who like to make plans, they like to plan ahead. They plan ahead. They make preparations. So you prepare for the week. Maybe you prepare for the following week, or maybe for the weekend. A lot of people like to make plans at the weekend, don't they?
They do. I like to plan ahead for the weekend about what I will do this weekend so that the time is not wasted.
Yes.
Let's plan ahead for our upcoming wedding. Yes, you can use that phrase in various ways. Let's plan ahead for what we're going to do in the sales program for the next 3 months. Let's plan ahead for the next sales cycle.
So certainly in business, I think plans are a big part of everything that happens in a company or a business. So you plan ahead, you make preparations. You can also map out a plan. So the word map can be used as a verb. You can map something. It means you are creating a route or a direction that you want to go in. So you map out a plan. So map can be a noun, but also you can use it as a verb. You are planning ahead. You are mapping out a plan. And of course, I think one of the most useful things generally, so not necessarily making plans for the immediate future, but maybe you can write down your intentions as well. So maybe things you plan to do next year, or maybe 5 years from now. Some people like to plan very far ahead in the future. You write down your intentions, and of course, you think ahead. Mr. Steve, very good. Me? not so good.
Vitas has pointed out something that I was going to mention to you, Mr. Duncan, after the end of today's live stream. He says that your window needs cleaning.
Yeah.
And I noticed there were lots of sort of spots and specks on the outside view today. So yes, Mr. Duncan will have to get out the window cleaner and polish the windows so that we're not getting strange specks on the lens.
Well, I can tell you why, because I'm doing something called pulling focus. So because I'm pulling the focus on the camera behind us, you can see the surface of the glass very close up. So that glass, the glass you can see is very close. So the camera is only right next to the actual glass. So that's the reason why. And of course I have adjusted the focus. So that piece of glass is very close, but also it is in focus. So the background is not in focus. It is blurred. So that's the reason.
Thank you for pointing that out, Vitas. I had noticed it. I thought, what will our viewers think of this dirty window?
The disturbing thing is we do have a window cleaner that comes, and I don't think they're very good.
No, I think that's the inside of your window, Mr. Duncan.
Okay.
Not the outside, the inside, which, let's face it, I cannot remember the last time we cleaned our windows on the inside.
It is true. It's very easy to forget the windows.
I do it when my mother's coming to stay.
Yes, I don't know why.
Which is, once or twice a year. That's the only time I clean the windows on the inside of the house. So I never plan to do them normally, but in fact I've written down a list of things because my mother's coming to stay next month. So I've written down things that I want to do to impress my mother.
Really?
Before she comes in June. Things, little maintenance things, which my mother will say, oh, why haven't you done that? And, that looks a bit untidy. And, oh, look at the state of these windows. I'm going to add that to the list.
Why is there dust everywhere?
Clean the inside of the windows.
Oh, okay.
Because it is something that my mother will spot, and I don't want her to think that we are lazy.
Yes.
And, just standing around all day doing live streams.
Well, I don't think that's lazy. Do you realise how much effort and work it takes to do this? It really does. Another thing connected to making plans, your mindset is forward thinking. So when we talk about your mindset, we are talking about your way of thinking, the process that you use in your mind when you are thinking about things. So in that sense, we can describe a person as forward thinking. They are planning ahead. Maybe they are trying to come up with some new ideas as well for the future. So maybe something you want to do, something different, maybe a different thing that you want to try. You are forward thinking.
Often that's used as a compliment.
Yes.
Somebody will say to you, I'm trying to think of an example now, you might be thinking about changing something.
Well, a company that only has shops, maybe they decide that they want also to have a website, because in the future more people will start to use the internet and buy things on the internet. So forward thinking in that sense is having a shop that people can go into, a physical shop, but you decide that you want to do some forward thinking. You want to also have a website. So then if there are people who don't want to come into your shop, then they can buy the things online. And that is a good example of forward thinking.
Yes, and if somebody says to you, if you come up with an idea and somebody says to you, that's congratulations, that's forward thinking. That's a compliment you can use for somebody. For example, if I could have thought ahead, that means you're thinking about what might change and what things you need to do to have in place to take account of that change. Mm-hmm. So, for example, taking those bushes down outside has meant that now the neighbour can see over and we can see over because we have lost that tall hedge for privacy. So if I was forward thinking or thinking ahead, I would have bought new bushes to put in there in advance of the man coming round to cut them down, then I could have gone very quickly out there and planted new bushes.
Yes.
And we would have had, nice cover again.
So making plans and forward thinking are ways of preparing yourself, maybe for changes. Maybe something might change in the future. You are planning ahead. So I think it is something that people often do, especially during these crazy times that we are living through. I would say that maybe these days it is a little harder to plan ahead, to make plans. You prepare for all eventualities. So this particular word is quite interesting. Eventualities, the things that might happen. So they can be good things or bad things, whatever happens. That word describes all of the things that might happen. You prepare for all eventualities, whatever happens, good or bad.
Yeah, so say you are going to hold a meeting somewhere for some customers or a wedding. You've got a wedding planned. You've got to prepare for all eventualities at that wedding. So you've got to prepare for people who could be, for example, the food. You have to prepare for people who eat meat, people that don't eat meat, vegans. So that's preparing for all eventualities when it comes to eating. Then you might need wheelchair access if somebody is in a wheelchair. You might need to allow for all different types of drinks for people, alcoholic, non-alcoholic. Are there going to be children there? You might need soft drinks for them. All sorts of things that you've got to take into account when you're planning an event, for example. You would say, well, we need to prepare for all eventualities. We don't know what some people might need, what requirements certain people might have. You could be, holding a meeting for outside people coming into work, and you've got a proposal to make to them. You've got to prepare then for any questions that they might ask. Prepare for all eventualities.
Yes.
So what questions could they possibly, got to think, what questions could they ask you?
You need to be ready slow down a bit, Steve. Slow down slightly.
Oh, he's cutting me off, Mr. Duncan. I'm just explaining.
No, I'm not telling you not to speak. I'm telling you just to slow down a little bit, because there are people trying to follow the captions. But
cut me off.
Is there another word we can use?
Prepare for all possible outcomes.
Yes, or possibilities.
Possibilities.
So the eventualities can also be the possibilities, the things that may or may not happen, good and bad.
Beatrice makes a good point. You have to enjoy. You can't keep planning all the time. Sometimes you just need to enjoy the moment.
Yes.
Enjoy the day.
Yes.
The peace. Maybe you go for a walk and you listen to the birds, and maybe you. And not all the time inside your head, which is what I do a lot of, isn't it?
Steve,
I spend a lot of time up here.
You are what I call sometimes very introspective, too introspective.
I'm always thinking of things, always sort of thinking, and I'm not really living. I think that's what you mean, Beatrice. Spend more time enjoying yourself and living rather than constantly think about what might happen, what could happen, what do I need to plan for this, that and the other. Sometimes just, which is why I like these live streams, Mr. Duncan.
Yes, enjoy the moment.
Because I can't be anywhere else but in the present moment.
Yes.
I have to be in the present moment. Otherwise, people would say, what's Mr. Steve doing? He doesn't seem to be here. He seems to be somewhere else.
Yes. If there's one thing that doing this does, it sharpens your brain. It makes your brain function in a very quick, sharp way, because it's live. This is live, by the way. Right now it's 14 minutes past 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday. Live. We're live.
Lewis makes a point as well, and other people have made similar points, that you can't always. You can make plans, but sometimes things come along in life which will upset your plans.
Yes.
So unexpected events can come along, catch you by surprise, and suddenly all your plans, at least for that period of time when you have to deal with that thing that comes along. And it could be, of course, it could be anything, couldn't it? It could be somebody's suddenly ill in the family.
Yes.
You need to take somebody to hospital, or you get a phone call from somebody, a customer, and they say, "Oh, I can't see you today. After all, I'm sorry." And then you've got to make new plans. But it's the big things, I think you mean, something.
Well, a good example is when your mum had that car accident.
Yes.
So we went from a normal day to everything changed. We found out that your mother had had a car crash, and she was okay, a little bit shaken. So Steve went over, and Steve's mum came to stay with us for a few days.
So I got plans for the day.
Yes.
And those plans were all. And I've got a colleague at work at the moment whose life has been sort of on hold for the last year because of sick parents and this, that. I'm not going to worry, Mr. Duncan, of sick parents. So you plan for your working day, and then suddenly you get a call from one of your parents and they've fallen over, and you need to go and take them to hospital or something like that. Yes, so all you can do really is make a plan, and then if something unexpected event comes along, you just have to deal with that and then move on.
I made an English lesson many years ago. It is still one of my favourite English lessons, all about being happy and sad. And there is a bit that I wrote and did at the end of that lesson about life and all of the ups and downs that you can have in life, and the reason why it is a good thing to have good moments and bad moments. I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about. And it's always been one of my most favourite little bits that I did. But I think the message in there is quite strong. Life is unpredictable. Life is up and down. And the only way of dealing with all of these things is to try your best and try to make the most of those good times and do your best to deal with the bad times.
And I think you have to learn to be adaptable. To check the one profession that is probably subject to making plans and then not being able to stick to those plans because of unplanned events that come along is politicians. They often make lots of plans about what they're going to do when their manifestos, what they say to try and encourage you to vote for them.
Their plans.
They're going to do all these things, their plans. Yes, politicians have or political parties have manifestos. So they set out it's like a plans, really, isn't it?
They have to have one. They are obliged by law to have a manifesto. They must produce it.
We are going to do, when we get into power, we're going to do these things. And then the other party says, well, if we get into power, we'll do these things. And then the people decide which party they want to vote for. But events come along in politics, world events, national, local events, which are constantly derailing. That's a good phrase to use.
Derail.
If your plans don't go as you want them to do, your plans, you can say they've been derailed.
Imagine a train going along and suddenly it comes off the rails.
My plans for the wedding have been completely derailed, and that means that something's happened.
My fiancée ran off with the milkman.
Yes, or the venue suddenly got back to you and said, "Oh, I'm ever so sorry, we've double booked the church, and you've got to give us another date for the wedding."
Yeah.
And you might say, "My whole plans for the wedding have been derailed." Because you've got to suddenly send new invites out to everybody. Yes, so that's a good phrase to use. And I've forgotten entirely what I was talking about before I got distracted by... Well, I've been derailed.
Yes.
On what I was originally planning to say.
That is a very good example of being derailed, you see. We're going to take a short break because we have another subject coming up.
Ooh.
It's a busy one today. We have so much stuff. 2 hours every Sunday we do this, and there is always something to look at, something to see, something to enjoy.
Don't go away.
Yes, please don't go away. And a lot of people today are watching the football, apparently. Well, this is just for you. know a lot of people like to look in the garden. They like to see the nature. Would you like to have a look at another view of the garden? This is something I filmed yesterday in the garden. Very nice. Look at that. And there are the cows once again at the back of the house. And in a few moments we are going to see one of the beautiful flowers that has just come out. Steve. Mr. Steve is here, by the way, with us.
I've been here all the time, Mr. Duncan.
Well, I didn't say you weren't. I'm just saying Mr. Steve is here right now. And there is the garden, looking very colourful at the moment. I have to say, I do like this time of year, especially when the sun is shining, all of the leaves are out on the trees, and you can hear the birds singing, and everything is rather nice. But we do have one particular flower that has just come out. And this is a flower that we've had for some time, but it never used to be very big. However, over the past couple of years, this particular flower has become very active, and there it is, the rhododendron. Isn't that amazing?
It's not fully out yet.
No.
But now that I've had the dead conifers removed, that will give that plant a lot more light, and it will get bigger and bigger.
Look at that. So these particular flowers are just coming out. They haven't opened up yet, although one or two of them actually have. The rhododendron is now looking lovely. And I always remember this plant. The reason why I remember this plant is because at school they would always ask us to spell the name of this plant, and I would always spell it incorrectly. So there, isn't that lovely? Look at that. A beautiful rhododendron is now out in the garden, and it is looking rather superb, I have to say. And of course, Mr. Steve's green fingers have helped quite a lot, I think, to keep the garden looking nice. So we don't always have people coming to do the work in the garden. Quite often, Mr. Steve will do the work as well.
Yes.
There he is.
Hello, Udom from... I forgot where you're from now. Bangladesh, I think.
Hello.
Or was it Thailand?
Oh, there's a big difference.
There is a big difference. And also hello to Marshmallow,
Yes.
who hasn't been here for a while.
Haven't seen you for a long time. Welcome back, Marshmallow.
Yes, Udom is in Thailand.
Hello, Thailand.
Yes, and comes on to see us every week, and we much appreciate everybody. Sorry, I can't say hello to everybody, but sometimes I just see somebody and it takes my eye. Maybe I should plan ahead better and write down all the people who have joined, and I can give a personal hello to everybody.
I like it. I like what you're doing there, Steve. Talking of flowers, we also have the beautiful laburnum as well. As I mentioned at the start of today's live stream, look at that. Isn't that lovely? So that is a live view outside at the moment, the beautiful flowers. And of course, as many people know, this particular thing is poisonous.
That's right. That's not in our garden. It's in next door's garden, but it's very close to our border, to our fence. But we like to look at it every year because it has lovely yellow flowers. And we used to have a laburnum tree in Wolverhampton. And yes, the berries are poisonous.
Yes.
And you mustn't eat them, or the seeds as well.
So there is our special warning. Do not eat laburnum seeds, because they will make you very ill, if not completely dead. So don't do it.
Vitas makes an interesting comment. When I see lovers' names carved into a tree, I don't think it's sweet. I just think it's surprising how many people carry a knife on a date.
Yes.
Now that is very true.
Yes.
Who is going out on a date and carrying a knife with them?
That is interesting.
Yeah, I never thought of that. Very clever, Vitas.
Yeah. So you're going out for a romantic evening. Maybe you are going for a walk, maybe in the Arboretum, and the moon is out. And then as you're walking around, you say, darling, isn't it a beautiful evening? Let me just get my knife and I'm going to carve our names into the tree. Isn't that a lovely romantic moment? But imagine if you were the partner and suddenly your boyfriend pulls out a big knife, but all he wants to do is carve your name into the tree. I also don't think it's very good for the tree as well. Of course,
Not the kind of weapon you want your boyfriend to usually get out, is it?
no, you don't want... There's no answer to that, really. The other thing that lovers do is they often have you ever seen in Paris, they have the lock bridge.
Oh.
Have you seen that?
I have.
Yes, and lots of people go and they put a little padlock on the bridge, and it has their names on the actual lock. And what that's actually saying is we are together forever. So as long as that lock stays on the bridge, we will always be together.
I wonder if Lewis has one of those on the lock bridge. Didn't we see a report that said that the bridge was getting so heavy
They took them away.
because of all these padlocks that it was in danger of collapsing?
They had to take all of the locks.
Talking of bridges, did you see that news report the other night on the longest, I think it was like a suspended bridge across a big gorge somewhere?
A footbridge.
A footbridge, the longest in the world, across to great big gorge or something.
Yeah.
Now, where was that? Was it America?
I can't remember where it was. If I knew you were going to ask that, I would have prepared, but I
Well, you
didn't.
talked about a bridge, and we
Yes.
saw this news story. It looked quite scary.
No, I don't want to go on that bridge.
I remember going on a small footbridge similar to that in Ireland once. Went between one sort of part. The sea was underneath, and it went from one bit of rock to the next, and it was very high up. It was like 200 metres above the sea. What do you call that? Like it went across a gorge underneath the sea and the rocks below, and there was just this sort of rope bridge, and you had to walk along it from one side to the other, looking down, and there was the waves crashing on the rocks.
Can I just say
Scary.
I'm really distracted at the moment, Steve, because I can smell the chili con carne.
I've just given it a stir.
My studio is now full of the most delicious smell, the beautiful aroma of Mr. Steve's chili, and it is incredibly distracting. All I can think about now is having the chili con carne later. I have to be honest with you.
That's the thing about the slow cooker. It's brilliant. You can just chuck everything in, leave it,
Yeah.
but you've got that smell for hours throughout the house, which constantly makes you hungry.
Was the word you were looking for ravine?
No, not quite. It's not ravine, but it's it's sort of a hill. It's near the sea, and you've got that's probably where the river comes into the sea, but it's where the sea comes in, and you've got.
Is it estuary?
Well, it's sort of something like that.
I'm running out of words. My brain is like a dictionary.
It's just you've got a rocky bit near the sea, and there's
Okay.
a bridge to get from one side to the other.
Okay, we've just lost
And,
28 viewers
I'm not surprised.
in that moment. Oh, dear. Anyway, we have a subject we were talking about making plans. Now we are going to discuss something for the next 30 minutes until the end of today's live stream. We are talking about words and phrases connected to pictures, because last week a very valuable picture was sold in an auction, nearly $200 million for one painting.
So who owned that painting?
I don't, but as I understand it, it's a very wealthy man.
He's even wealthier now.
He has one of the most valuable paintings in the world. So we are looking at picture, words, and phrases, and there are you might be surprised to find out how many picture, words, and phrases there actually are. There are more than I can count on my right hand. And so more than 5. Amazing. A picture is an image created or formed as a visual representation. So when we talk about pictures or a picture, it is an image often created or formed as a visual representation. The original thing you are looking at might be so inspiring. You want to make your own version of that thing. You want to paint a picture or draw a picture or take a photograph as well. So all of those things are pictures. That is what they become. You paint a picture, you draw a picture, you take a picture with a camera. So there are many ways of using that. A picture can be in the form of a photograph or artistic representation. Ooh, so what does that mean to you, Steve? What would you say artistic representation is?
Well, you've got the photograph, which obviously is an exact replica of what you were looking at. Yes, artistic representation. That's your interpretation of what you're seeing. So some people will use different colours. If you're painting, some people might use charcoal to paint a scene or a person. Other people might use watercolours. They might use oils. They might use some kind of printing. But they will all interpret that in a different way. Every artist has a different way. Somebody like Turner, for example.
Oh.
Famous painter. And I'm trying to think of another one. Some painters paint as much as exactly as they see it. They try to exactly copy what they see. But other people, like other famous artists,
I suppose you could talk about Picasso.
Yes.
So surreal.
So their vision of what that picture looks like is very different indeed, and they will.
But it still is their artistic representation.
That's right.
How they see it. So a picture can be anything. Photography. I know over the past 10 or 15 years, photography has become very popular. Everyone now has a camera of some sort. Even if you have a phone, you literally have a camera in your pocket.
And a very good one these days.
Yes, they are pretty good.
Olga points out that a lot of people, of course, invest money by buying paintings, pictures, and now even buying things that don't really exist. What are they called?
NFTs.
NFTs, yes.
A non-fungible transaction or token.
Yes, so a lot of people are buying something that somebody has that doesn't exist in physical form. I presume it could be made to exist in physical form if it was printed out, maybe. But
that's it. Normally it's in the form of metadata with a unique serial number. So that thing can only be bought once. However, it can be reproduced again and again. And that's what an NFT basically is.
It's a bit like having a coin or a banknote, but instead of having that physical representation of money, you decide to buy a cryptocurrency, for example, or most money is electronic now, isn't it?
Yes. Anyway, we're straying
a bit off.
We are straying away. Let's stay on course. An imagined image can be described as a picture. So you can actually close your eyes right now. Shall we try this together, everyone? Close your eyes. Don't worry, I'm not going to rob you. Close your eyes and imagine something. Tell me what it is you are picturing in your mind. So we're going to do... Steve?
I've already done it.
Yes.
And it's very predictable.
So I'm guessing, is it anything to do with cars?
It was.
Okay, then. So everyone now, we will take a moment of silence. Close your eyes and imagine something. Picture something. So in this sense, we are using it as a verb. Picture something. What are you seeing now? What are you imagining? What can you see in your mind or in your mind's eye? Ooh. Ooh.
It's still a Ford Mustang.
Oh. Mine's very interesting. Ooh. What a,
Sometimes your mind goes to very strange places, doesn't it? Very surreal, often disturbing places. And I've never developed a technique for ridding myself of that. Things like, people will say to you about... No, I won't go in. I don't want those horrible pictures
Okay.
in my mind.
I dread to think what that was.
Parents,
So,
you know.
oh no, don't even go there, Steve. An imagined image can be described as
Disturbing.
a picture. The word picture can be a noun or verb, as I mentioned a few moments ago. The word picture can be a noun or verb. So the thing is a picture, and to imagine is to picture. The representation is a picture. So that is in the form of a noun. The picture is the thing. The thing thought is pictured. You are doing that. You are closing your eyes and you are imagining something. Maybe a place you would love to visit. Maybe you are picturing yourself picking up an award for being the most brilliant English teacher on the internet. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Anna, you very correctly guessed that I was thinking about a Mustang. Vittoria was thinking about a big turtle.
Oh, okay. I wonder what you're going to say then.
Olga said that the first thing she saw was a smiley yellow face from Mr. Duncan's tie.
Oh, I see. You mean this? Ooh.
Yes. And Beatrice said that she could see very green landscape with lots of peaceful views. Lovely.
Zadzika said Jaffa cakes.
Jaffa cakes for Zadzika. And of course, 100 Dob. Yes, you can picture yourself on a boat with river, with tangerine trees and marmalade skies. Somebody calls you. You answer quite slowly. A girl with kaleidoscope eyes. Cellophane flowers of yellow and green. Yes, so you've got this vision on a river with a beautiful girl by your side. Why not? How
I think
lovely.
That's actually a song.
It probably is. Yes, is it a Beatles song?
Mm.
I bet you're surprised I knew that.
Well, it's about as recent as your musical history goes. You might paint or draw a picture. You might take a picture. So there are two ways of using picture in these sentences. You paint or draw, or I suppose we could say you create a picture. You might take a picture. Take a picture. So in that sense, we are using the description of taking a photograph. We are actually creating an image by using a camera. You have painted or drawn a picture. You drew a picture. Quite often confusion here, you see, because one is used without an object and one is used with an object. You have painted or drawn a picture. You drew a picture, the actual action with the creation of the picture. You have taken a picture. In that sense, we are talking about a photograph. You have taken a picture of a tree. You have taken a picture of your next door neighbour's wife sunbathing. You took a picture as the past tense. Again, you took a picture of your neighbour's dog barking. You took a picture of your neighbour's something doing something in a strange way. You see? So you can have lots of uses of picture and take. The image on a TV screen is the picture. The picture that you see on a TV is the picture. That is the thing you can see, the moving picture, the image. And you can also go to see a film or a movie. We can say that you go to the pictures, although I would say that's a little bit old-fashioned now. Do you think?
Yes, yes. I don't think people. Yeah, you don't say. But I think people say go to the movies.
Yes.
I don't think you say go to the pictures anymore.
I think
do
if you are over
Probably.
a certain age, if you are old like us, then we might say, shall we go to the pictures and see the new The Rock film or Vin Diesel? I'm a big fan of Vin Diesel. You go to the pictures.
Strange enough, well, Lewis points out the Marilyn Monroe picture is more of an icon for this period of time,
Yes.
the 1960s. It would have been, of course. I think that within 100 years, no one will remember the painting as we remember a Rembrandt or Van Gogh. Well, that's it. In fact, they showed that Andy Warhol painting to a lot of young people recently, and hardly any of them knew who that person was.
They didn't recognise Marilyn Monroe.
No, because time moves on. Film stars, when people, but people get forgotten about. Only really important people or very evil people get remembered.
Important people like me.
And,
I will be remembered down the ages.
So yes, it's true. So that picture, because it's a picture of a particular person, will be forgotten. People will look at that in 100 years' time and say, so its value may well drop in time, maybe, I don't know.
Talking of which, things that fade away and people forget. I'm not talking about you, Steve, don't worry. But I was watching a very interesting programme the other night about RKO Pictures. And they were one of the first movie companies to produce big budget pictures, and pictures that became very mainstream and popular. But it was a very interesting documentary, and it was made, I think it was made in the early 1980s. But at that time, many of the famous film stars were still alive. They were old, they were quite old, but there were these amazing interviews with some of the biggest names in the movie world around the 1950s. For example, Ginger Rogers. There are some wonderful interviews with Ginger Rogers talking about her movies. But I'm wondering how many people watching at the moment know who Ginger Rogers was, or her partner, dancing partner,
And Fred Astaire.
Fred Astaire. He's also in the documentary. Once again, very old, elderly, but talking about his time. And it's like a little piece of history being played. These people who are no longer around, talking about their work in movies that many people have forgotten about.
I still can't get my head around the fact that you can watch, and it always does upset me sometimes, particularly somebody I admire, a comedian or a film star, and you watch that and that they've obviously practiced and are performing, and they're amazing performers, could be singers from the past, but they're dead now. And I still can't get my head around the fact that I can still watch them. It's just a strange feeling, and you feel quite sad that you're looking at that person and their life is over, and yet you can still see them. It's a very odd thing. I can't get my head around that. Still can't, Mr. Duncan.
Because what it's doing is it is instilling, it is bringing a feeling into your mind of those two things that seem to have a conflict with each other.
Yes.
Because you can see that person talking, breathing, they are speaking, they are alive. However, the person is actually, in fact, dead. Maybe 100 years from now, people will be watching this. Us here, vibrant and alive.
Well, I mean, you think about it. Until somebody invented, well, I mean, there were always painters, of course, who would paint usually famous people like a king or a queen, and you would have to pay somebody so that your image on that canvas was preserved, an image of you after you were dead.
Yes.
So that's always sort of been around. But for the average ordinary person, very few people would have ever had images or photographs or paintings of their ordinary family members because it would have been very expensive to get somebody to paint a picture of you.
Only the rich could do it.
Only the rich could do it. And so most people, hundreds of years ago, would, in the olden days,
The 1970s.
once someone was dead, that was it. You never saw an image of them ever again. But now, of course, everyone that's alive, their image will be preserved somewhere
Yes.
on an electronic device.
And that is part of the reason why people do it. They want to be immortal. They want to be
Yes.
remembered. And of course, what used to happen, Steve, I've seen some very good documentaries about many of these portrait artists. And for example, I suppose Henry VIII is a very famous king, and apparently he wanted to be painted in a certain way. So you could not show all of the flaws or the impurities or imperfections of his image. So it's a little bit like Instagram.
Yeah.
So even way back then, when kings and queens were having their portraits painted, even they had a kind of beauty filter. So they told the artist not to include all of the warts or the wrinkles. So that's the reason why when you look at old portraits of kings and queens, they always have that magnificent pose. They always seem tall and maybe also attractive as well, or strong. And I always find that fascinating because it's very similar to what people do now with their Instagram posts. They have beauty filters.
Yeah,
and they
so
will
if you're on
make themselves look better or
you're
more.
on Zoom,
Yes.
people will. In fact, it was very interesting because I recently went to our head office for the company I work for, and I haven't been there for over 2 years since of course the lockdowns, and I've been used to watching people from head office on Zoom meetings, and then I went to head office and saw a lot of these people that I've been watching on Zoom meetings, and it was very obvious that they have been using the beauty filter in Zoom because they looked a lot older in person than they do on their Zoom meetings. So, that's when it all sort of falls apart.
Yeah.
There was one particular person and I thought,
Oh, okay.
it's all right, I'm not going to worry, Mr. Duncan, I'm not going to name names. Not that stupid. And they'd been on this quite a prominent person in head office and always on the live stream telling us things. So then at head office, I thought, blimey, you've aged a bit. And then it suddenly dawned on me that they'd been using this beauty filter for the last 2 years.
Yes. So that is the problem. As long as you never meet that person in real life. And of course, on here, we don't have a beauty filter here. This is it. You get all the rough lines and the sagging skin. And
We don't need beauty filters.
And a lot of people have already asked if I'm growing a moustache. Well, I am actually creating a new look for myself, which will be slowly emerging over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, keep a lookout for that. There is a new Mr. Duncan, a new look, a new image.
I think 100 Dob is definitely a Beatles fan.
Oh,
Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
that is the song that we mentioned earlier.
Ah, right. One of my favourite ones is Hey Jude.
Many Beatles songs were written whilst they were, what's the word I'm looking for?
Under the influence.
I was going to say stoned. But yes, it would be fair to say that they would pop the occasional pill when they wrote those pieces of music. Here's another one. We've strayed well off the topic, but now we have some picture phrases. Would you like some picture phrases? I'm sure you would. I would. Picture perfect. Something that is picture perfect is something that is attractive or flawless, a thing that is pleasing to look at.
For example, you might go on a sightseeing trip somewhere. You might go on holiday and you've got a lovely view of the beach with the sea the blue sky. There might be a few clouds. There might be the mast of a sailing boat in the distance. The sun is just about to set, and you could say that that's picture perfect. That is how you see a beach scene. It could be, you could go for a nice walk somewhere, you'd climb to the top of a hill and you look down and you see all the lovely countryside, the patchwork quilt, blue sky again, and that you could say, look, picture perfect.
So you might say the view outside the window today is picture perfect. It is a nice scene. We are looking at something that is nice, picture perfect.
Pedro Belmont is here.
Oh, or should I say Pedro Belmont? Welcome, Pedro.
Hello, Pedro. I think Pedro's just woken up.
We often use picture perfect, by the way, in American English. So it is more often used in American English, but I think we can also use it in British English as well.
Definitely.
You might paint a picture, and we are using this in a figurative way. So not real, but you are painting a picture. You are describing something, to describe an event or idea in a clear and vivid way. A lot of people say that about my English lessons. They say that when I'm describing something or maybe describing a word, I paint the picture very clearly.
If somebody says something nice and describes an event or a scene somewhere, and you like the sound of that, you can say, oh, doesn't that paint a lovely picture? And you mean it's painting an image on your mind. The words that somebody is saying, the words that they use to describe that event, is painting a picture in your mind. That's what that means. Some
people are very good at telling stories and painting a picture with their words. So there is I think it is a type of skill, I suppose. A picture paints 1,000 words. This actually is from a song as well.
Was it a Beatles song?
I don't think it is in this particular sense. I think it's from... I'm trying to think of what the song is. It might actually be called that.
Picture paints 1,000 words.
It's
and
not.
One of them is... Yeah, it's from like a slow ballady song.
I think it's called If. I think the song is actually called If.
If a picture paints 1,000 words.
Well, why can't I paint you?
Yes, who's that? Someone will know.
I think the song is called If.
Lewis will know.
It's been done by many people. I think Shirley Bassey has done that song. Has she?
Yes, I've got an image. See, that's painting a picture in my mind.
Yes.
You see, the thought of you saying that phrase is painting a picture of the person that used to sing it.
So it has been sung by many people.
I think Telly Savalas sung it.
Telly Savalas, the bald guy from Kojak, he did it, but he didn't sing it. He just
sort of mouthed it.
If a picture paints 1,000 words, then why can't I paint you?
Who loves you, baby?
Birmingham, what a place. There is a great video, I'm sure it's on YouTube, of Telly Savalas, Kojak, from the TV series of the same name, talking about Birmingham.
Yes, he must have been asked to narrate.
Yes, a
sort of advertisement for Birmingham.
But the funny thing is, he never even went to Birmingham. He did it in a recording studio in Hollywood. But it's on YouTube. Just put Telly Savalas or Kojak, Birmingham, and it will come up. And it's so funny.
It's funny because in the 1970s, Birmingham was not an attractive town to look at. No, I'm just saying it wasn't. Everyone used to sort of laugh and joke about Birmingham. And so he's narrating a video, an advertisement to try and attract people to come to Birmingham.
It's a promotion.
And it's a promotion. And it's very funny because of the things that he says. The view from up here took my breath away. Well, that made all of us laugh in the Midlands because Birmingham was not an attractive place to look at.
What the ironic thing, Steve, was they just made improvements at that time, and they were trying to attract people to the new look of Birmingham. And to be honest, it didn't look very good. Some people might say it still doesn't, but that person is not me. So a picture paints 1,000 words. The many ways in which a piece of art can be comprehended or described.
That's it. What it's saying is you're looking at something, you're looking at a picture. Say you go to an art museum and all these images, when you're looking at that picture, there's so many things that you can read into it.
There are.
And thousands of images and words and phrases could come into your mind as a result of looking at that picture. You might look at the picture of Marilyn Monroe and it might paint all sorts of memories of seeing her in films, seeing her with President Kennedy. Images of her dying in bed.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. I will see you later for a little bit of How's Your Father.
I'm sure that painted many pictures in people's minds.
It certainly did in mine.
Yes.
So a painting or a picture is a representation, but each person can see that painting or that picture in a certain way of understanding it. We often say something is subjective. So one person's view of something, maybe my view, would be different from Steve's. Steve sees one thing in that painting, but I see something else. So quite often we will see a painting or a picture as being subjective.
And I think a lot of people, we've seen art programs where people are commenting on an artist and their their pictures, and it sometimes makes you laugh because it's like they're almost reading too much into the style of the way something was written. So it could be a portrait of a person, and they'll go into great details about what emotions are going on in that person's head, or that's saying this, it's saying that, and you just think, well, what evidence have you got? Are you just making this up? Quite often, if you see these art programs, they can be a bit comical.
Yes, well, that is one of the things about art. Some people are turned off by art. They don't understand, or they don't want to understand it, because it challenges them. It challenges their conceptions of the world around them, whilst other people enjoy it. They love to dive into it. I remember in the 1980s there was the most amazing TV show by a guy called Robert Hughes, a well-known art critic. I think he was Australian. And it was called The Shock of the New. And it's all about how art changed over the years, but it also, at the same time, as the art changed, it also reflected those periods of time where things were changing in society. So I like those sorts of things. Robert Hughes, I believe that is also on YouTube as well. To do something in camera, and this is often used in law. So this is kind of connected to pictures, because you take a picture with a camera. To do something in camera, quite often in law, so a private meeting or a discussion taken in maybe the judge's chamber, a private place, something is done in camera, which is interesting. So the camera, when you think about it, is an isolated space. And the old-fashioned camera, the original camera, was basically a space that was isolated from everywhere else. And the light would go into it, and you would be able to...
So that's describing a meeting where you would think, because it says in camera, it would mean lots of people could see it. But in fact, it's the opposite of that, is it?
That's it, yes. So it's not in the open. It is something that is done in a place where only 2 or 3 people are sitting or discussing, and it's not open to the public.
Whereas normally you would think in camera would mean everyone can see it. But in that particular way of using that, it doesn't.
To paint a positive or negative picture of someone. This is something that human beings do all the time. Maybe a friend or a neighbour will talk about another person, and they will say good things about them. Or they will say bad things about them. That person is painting a positive or maybe a negative picture of someone. You talk about someone in a good or bad way.
If you describe somebody, somebody says to you, well, what's John like? Or what's Susie like? And it's always a difficult question when people ask you that. At work, I find it's a very difficult question to answer. Somebody might say, oh, we've got a new boss. His name's John. And you might say, oh, I know John. I used to work for him, many years ago. And that person might say, oh, can you tell me what he's like? And it's a very difficult question to answer because, one, that person might have changed and you might be tempted to, depending on your memories of that person and what interactions you had, you might say bad things and paint a bad picture about that person. So your words are creating images in somebody's head about how that person is likely to behave towards you. So if you had a bad experience, you might say, oh, I don't like him. Oh no, he was always micromanaging me, phoning me up late at night, and you want to be careful of him. But then somebody else might say, oh yeah, he was really good to me. He gave me lots of training, and I thought he was a good manager. So it
sounds like those pictures are actually conflicting.
Yes. So, yes, as soon as somebody describes somebody to you, it's painting pictures and your mind is creating, because our minds are very creative, and it's creating an image of how you think that person might be and thus how you might react to them when you see them.
As Einstein once said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Because imagination can take you anywhere. It can allow you to discover new things. You can look up at the heavens at night and imagine all of the things that might exist out there, even though you can't see them, even though you haven't seen them at all. Maybe you can imagine a black hole. Oh, did anyone see the photograph of the black hole? And I'm not referring to anything that Mr. Steve has done, but there is a black hole in the centre of the Milky Way, spinning around, sucking everything into it. It is so dense, even light. Is that right?
That's true, yes.
Even light cannot enter. You cannot
escape.
Cannot escape, sorry. It can go in, but it can't come out. I know the feeling.
Yes. Yeah, that's well, Tomek's here as well. Hello, Tomek. You've been very silent today. And it's good to have you here, of course.
To paint a picture of someone, yes. You might get the picture. To understand something, you get the picture.
Yeah.
I understand what you mean. Thank you for that. Thank you for telling me the way I should go to find the post office. I get the picture. I understand. So if you get the picture, it means you understand what is being said, or you understand what you have to do.
Yes, again, it's describing what happens, the process of what happens when somebody tries to describe in words to you something. It creates a picture in your mind, in your mind's eye. That's what our brains do. Someone describes a person to you. They might describe an event or what they want you to do, and you might say, "Yep, I get the picture. Thank you very much."
Vittoria says, the picture of the black hole is very fascinating. Yes. Well, it took several years.
Yes.
It took several years to get all of the information. I think it was over 1 billion. I think it was over 1 billion gigabytes of information. That's a lot, by the way. That is a lot of information.
Still not as much as your new computer can hold, Mr. Duncan.
No, my computer is endless. Mine is Google bytes. It's a Googabyte. That's a lot of bytes, if you like being bitten. If you get the picture, you understand something. We're nearly at the end.
Good, because my legs are aching.
To be kept out of the picture. So it's the opposite,
right.
Really, maybe. To be kept out of the picture, to be excluded, or not to be kept informed. You don't know what's happening. You are out of the picture.
You could have a group of people at work colleagues. There's a meeting, but somebody's not invited, or maybe they're sick that day, and they just suddenly they decide on all this new way that they're going to work or some new plans, and then you come along and somebody says to you, "What are you going to do about this new event that's coming up?" And you say, "I don't know anything about that. I've been kept out of the picture." So it could have been deliberate, or it could be by accident. But yeah, I'm out of the picture. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
They are not involving me. I
No.
am out of the picture.
Usually said in a negative way, isn't it, that phrase? I
Quite
would
often,
say.
yes. So to be excluded from something, to be the picture of. So we are expressing the representation of something. Quite often we do this in a positive way. You might be the picture of health. Maybe you see your friend and they look so well and healthy, and their skin is rosy and pink, and they look so lovely in the sunshine. You might say, "You are the picture of health. You are the picture of beauty." Or a person might be the picture of kindness. So normally something that is part of that person's character or appearance. To be the embodiment of something. The embodiment is the thing, the actual thing. That thing is part of you, and you represent it. You are the embodiment of that actual thing, be it health, beauty, kindness, a person.
Yes. You look the picture of health is a very common phrase to use to give a compliment to somebody who looks very well. You're the picture of health. You can say, "I feel the picture of health."
There is one we haven't included, and that is the big picture. The big picture.
Ah, right. Yes.
Yes. I think we just had that come up actually on here.
Valentin.
Yes. So the big picture is the overall view of everything. So you are explaining a subject, or maybe you are discussing the overall view of something, or maybe all of the things that are involved in that thing.
Yes, there could be a very complicated subject, but you know maybe a little bit about one part of it, but you don't have the big picture. You're only thinking about small little bits of that. For example, it could be, a war, for example. You might be focusing on one part of that just the information that you're getting through the particular news outlet that you like to watch. But are you getting the big picture? Are you getting all the information that will allow you to have a completely balanced point of view on something? And of course, that's very easy for that to happen today, because on the internet, people with the algorithms, they get sent information that is relevant to something that they're already looking at, rather than all the information. Yes. Do you get the big picture? If you're at work, do you understand what your company, for example, is trying to do, or are you just doing your job? Say you're a typist, or you're, for example, I'm in sales, but do I understand what the company is really trying to achieve, not just from what I do, but from what everything's doing? Do I have the big picture?
Yes.
Politics is the thing that,
Okay, Steve. We, of course, the important things as well. Quite often the big picture will involve all of the important things overall, all of the things that you need to know, or the things you need to understand. Oh, well, it's almost time to go, Mr. Steve.
I've got to mention a phrase. Out of the picture can also, a synonym for that is out of the loop.
Yes, but that's not necessarily picture related, but it is part of the communication circle.
Yes.
To be in the loop means you are in the circle of communication.
Yes, and so, yeah, exactly. I'm looking dishy apparently today. Thank you.
I think whoever said that needs their eyes testing. I think so. Yes, it is raining. The rain has just started. It started falling outside. I think this is a good opportunity, a good moment to say farewell. I hope you've enjoyed today's live stream. There's been a lot. I have to say there has been a lot in today's live stream.
That has. We've covered a lot of subjects and hope you've enjoyed it. My legs are aching.
Ah.
My voice is going a little hoarse.
Ah.
So I need a bit of a rest. I need a drink, sit down, put my feet up, maybe watch a little bit of Columbo. And then I will give the chili a stir.
Ooh. We are having chili con carne.
And it's cooking slowly in the slow cooker, which, by the way, uses a quarter of the amount of electricity
Very nice.
of the big oven in your cooker. So if you want to save on these ever-rising energy bills, use a slow cooker, because apparently every time you put the oven on, it costs about £1.50.
Or you can just eat your food straight out of the tin, cold.
Just eat the raw meat.
Yeah. Oh, don't do that.
I like a bit of raw meat. Anyway, on that subject, Mr. Duncan, on that note, I will go into the kitchen. I will wish you all a very happy week, and I hope you have lots of lovely pictures in your head resulting from today's live stream, and I'll see you all next week.
Thank you, Mr. Steve. He is going. Take your last look before Mr. Steve leaves the studio. He's gone. He's gone. And that's it. He just ran out of the room. He couldn't wait to get away. So there was Mr. Steve, and it's almost time to go. It's almost time to say goodbye. We've been on for 2 hours and 13 minutes. I have been doing overtime today, and I don't get paid for it. The overtime. I get nothing. Nothing. Thank you for your company. I hope you've enjoyed today's live stream. I will, of course, be back with you on Sunday. No, not Sunday. I'm back with you next Sunday, but I'm with you on Wednesday. Next Wednesday. Yeah, honestly. From 2 p.m. UK time, and we will do something very similar to this. It won't be exactly the same. There will be a different subject and something new to talk about. Thanks for your company. See you later. I hope you've had a good day, and I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. This is Mr. Duncan in the birthplace of English saying thank you for watching. See you soon. And of course, until the next time we meet, you know what's coming next. You know what I'm about to say. You can join in if you want. Ta-ta for now. I'm a big boy now.